everybody, how are you doing today? Hope it's good. So we're back with a monologue from King Lear. As always, the monologue's in the description below. Take a moment to pause me, read it, and then come on back. So, funny thing, like the last time we looked at King Lear, we're also looking at a monologue that isn't truly a monologue in the play. It's one that we've had to remove lines from. Now, unlike last time, where we basically removed a whole bunch of lines from a dialogue, this one there's only one interjecting line. So we're going to take a look at how that differs in a little bit, but very quickly let's catch you up on what King Lear is all about up until this point. Because again, we cannot play anything that happens beyond the point in the play where we are. And this one is actually very early on. This is Act 1, Scene 1, the opening of the play. King Lear has come out with his three daughters, Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia. Goneril and Regan are married to the Dukes of Albany and Cornwall, respectively, and Cordelia is currently being wooed by a duke and a king. So what Lear does, he says, I'm getting old. So daughters, I'm going to divide up my kingdom into three. And the lot of you need to tell me how much you love me so I can decide which part you get. And Goneril gets up and makes a stirring speech about how she loves her father more than anything in the world. And Cordelia hears that and has what's called an aside. And an aside is basically when a character is talking to either themselves or directly to the audience, but it's something that the rest of the characters cannot hear. And Cordelia has an aside of, why is she saying this? I know she doesn't feel this way. And Lear gives her her parcel of land, and she gets very happy, and so on and so forth. And then Regan gets up and does the exact same thing, swears that she loves her father more than anyone else in the world, more than anything else in the world, and that her sister, Goneril, well, she doesn't even come close to the amount of love that Regan has. And Lear looks at Regan and says, that's good, awesome, here, take this second piece of land. And then he turns to Cordelia. Of course, Cordelia has her second aside after her second sister and is like, I can't lie to my dad like this. And then Lear turns to Cordelia and is like, all right, my youngest and favorite daughter, please tell me how much you love me. And Cordelia, being the most proper and honest of the daughters, looks him straight in the eye and says, I can't do that. And she explains that, look, I love you as much as I'm supposed to love you. You are my father. You've given me all this stuff. But when I marry, I cannot love you like my sisters apparently do. And she talks about how her sisters are like, why do her sisters have husbands if they love their fathers with all of their being? Is there no love reserved for their husbands? And unfortunately, Lear doesn't realize, it doesn't process for Lear, because one of the big things for the king of this show is that he's basically going mad, is he doesn't process what she's saying correctly and disowns her. But Cordelia doesn't know that's going to happen, so you can't play Cordelia as if that's going to happen. What you can play Cordelia as, and what Cordelia should be played as, is the honest, truly loving daughter that she is. It's very interesting because she is definitely a mix between two of the other ladies we've looked at, Juliet and Ophelia. Because again, remember Ophelia with her father, she just followed Polonius's instructions. Juliet was very, very much of a firebrand and only followed her father's instructions when it suited her needs. Cordelia is kind of that middle ground. She gives her father the love that he is due and talks about that. And yet at the same time, she kind of reprimands him for forcing her into this position. She comes back with, I cannot do what you ask because it's not right. And you as my father need to know that. And unfortunately for Cordelia, it ends with her being disowned, but she does get married. She does end up married to the King of France, at least until she dies. Sorry, it's a tragedy, so no happy endings here. But moving forward with this, like I said, we have in this case a monologue where there is an interjection. In this case, it's King Lear's interjection. Because Cordelia says her first bit of this, and Lear responds with, Cordelia, you might want to change what you said, otherwise it might not end well for you. He gives her the out. He gives her the opportunity to change and be more like her sisters, and she still doubles down on it, which is really important, A, for her character, and B, is a really important thing because we now have to decide as an actor, in this, since we do have that one line, are we listening for that line, even though we're performing this as a monologue, or are we just ignoring it and going on? So the difference between this and the one that we did last time with Kent and Oswald is there were so many interjections from Oswald during the last one. So you had to at least listen to a handful of them because it didn't make sense otherwise. In this case, the two pieces of this monologue do make sense if you continue it as a single thought. But they also make sense if you decide to listen to Lear's response. And here's the difference. If you decide to listen, you have to take the time to pause, know where Lear is. So for example, if I'm performing this and Lear is just off to this side, I have to make sure that when Lear speaks, I am looking at Lear. I am physically responding. You have to know what line Lear is saying so that you can respond to it. Now, obviously, you can't wait for 20 seconds because then the people listening to you will think you've forgotten your lines. But you can listen for a few seconds. In this case, however, I am not going to do the listening one. I did that a little bit with the Kent and Oswald. This time, I'm just going to kind of steamroll it together as if it were a single speech. All right? Listen up. Unhappy that I am, I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. I love your Majesty according to my bond, no more nor less. Good my lord, you have begot me, bred me, loved me. I return those duties back as are right fit, obey you, love you, and most honor you. Why have my sisters husbands if they say they love you all? Haply, when I shall wed, that lord whose hand must take my plight shall carry half my love with him, half my care and duty. Sure, I shall never marry like my sisters, to love my father all. And that is Cordelia. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye!